If you've ever had the experience of spending several $1,000s per day on paid advertising spend, you know how incredibly stressful that can be. Ad performance is volatile. Performance can fluctuate up and down, and you're checking in with your sales team constantly to see when the next deal is going to come through. Now, you see, as you scale, there's two things that can make your business more valuable. Number one is you can increase the amount of revenue or cash collected for the business. That's obvious. But what doesn't get talked about enough is that you can also reduce the overall risk of your business. Everybody is so obsessed over playing offense and trying to scale, but they never spend any time thinking about how they can play defense to stabilize their business, to weather any future storms that might come. Very few performance advertisers think strategically about risk mitigation. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how you can scale from 7 to 8 figures leveraging paid advertising while simultaneously reducing the risk of your overall business. So the first way you can de-risk your business, number one, is through channel diversification. If 100% of all your traffic comes from one source, you do not have a business, you have a dependency. Now, from 0 to 100K per month, you actually want to have one core channel. You don't have much to lose up to that point. And if you're spreading yourself too thin, trying to optimize multiple different advertising channels, that is going to eat away at your profit margin. And you're better off investing into the one core channel that got you to where you are. There's a much higher probability bet of doubling down on what's already working, as opposed to trying to pay your insurance down and trying to optimize some of these other channels simultaneously before you cross that 100K a month mark. Now, after somebody crosses $100,000 per month, kind of in that range of between $100,000 per month and $300,000 per month, we start to think strategically about introducing that second channel. And after $300,000 per month, that's when we start to incorporate our third advertising channel. Now, the total amount of advertising spend is not going to be equally distributed among those channels. There's some businesses where just based on the nature of your offer, it just has a perfect match to that platform, and that platform is always going to be the best option for you. If you're targeting mass market, direct-to-consumer retirees, Meta is going to be obviously the most important platform for you. If you're targeting mid-market or enterprise executives, then perhaps LinkedIn could be a better platform for you. Or if you have a direct-to-consumer mass market e-commerce product, Meta or TikTok are going to be probably the most important advertising channels for you. But even if you can add in a second and third channel that just encompasses 10 or 20 or 30% of your overall advertising spend, that is going to massively dampen the overall volatility of your business. If we think to ourselves about the level of risk with any given business, we have on the opposite end of the spectrum, the highest risk business is a business that has one channel, one product, and zero revenue retention, meaning the customers never stay and continue to buy over and over again. And the lowest risk business being something that has multiple advertising channels, multiple different product offerings, multiple different funnels, and very, very strong revenue retention, such that even if they stopped advertising, the ability to retain customers for years and years on end would still stabilize and prevent their business from decaying. Your job as a business owner is to know the optimal amount of insurance that you should be paying to stabilize and diversify your business, given the revenue level that you're at. In 2024, one of the people that I got the chance to work with for a really extended period of time was Tai Lopez, regardless of some of the controversy and things that he's been through as of late. I had close to about a year period where I was helping him run some of his paid advertising, modify his CRM build-outs, and I got to spend a lot of time with somebody who had become, up to that point, a very successful online internet marketer. I know he's a very controversial individual, but one of the concepts that he used to talk to me a lot about when we'd be on long car rides, traveling together, etc., was this idea of the optimal amount of insurance. The optimal amount of insurance that you should be paying given a certain risk profile. So if there's a certain scenario to where it has a 20% likelihood of happening, but if that scenario were to happen, you would lose 100% of your assets, what would be the optimal amount of insurance that you would pay given that amount of risk profile? And we had very, very interesting conversations. And some businesses were underinsured and some were overinsured. Now, let's say that you got to $100,000 per month just leveraging Meta ads. It's actually a higher likelihood that you're going to be able to scale from $100,000 to $200,000 per month in the shortest period of time possible, just spending more on Meta advertisements. However, you slowly start to increase your single channel risk. And oftentimes what happens with businesses is that they also increase their fixed cost base and their monthly overhead that is supported by this single channel. So as they're scaling up, they increase their fixed cost base, Meta performance fluctuates, and then they drop below profitability, and then they get into trouble. With most of my clients, what we're typically recommending is once they cross that $100,000 per month, let's say they did that on Meta, we can still continue to scale Meta, but why don't we start allocating $100 a day towards YouTube, or $100 a day towards LinkedIn, $100 a day towards PPC, just so that we can start paying down our ignorance debt a little bit on that channel and start trying to shake out and make that channel profitable for us to have it in our back pocket. As advertisers, you know it's very difficult to go from 0 to 1, much easier to go from 1 to 10. So if you just start allocating a couple $100s a day to your advertising budget towards some of those channels that are a bit more unfamiliar, you start to dig your well before you're thirsty. You start to have other channels that are working before Meta performance starts to fluctuate. Now, each of these channels are going to optimize independently of one another, meaning the funnel and the sales process that you're typically leveraging for Meta is going to be slightly different than the funnel and the sales process that you're going to be accustomed to getting from leads that come from LinkedIn or Google or PPC. Each of these channels need to be optimized independently of one another. For instance, a channel like LinkedIn, the leads are already hyper qualified just by virtue of the fact of the targeting parameters that are set in place on the advertising platform. So it'd be redundant from a paid advertising standpoint to have a funnel that you're using on Meta that would do a lot of the financial qualification there. Now, let's say you're trying to capture Google search traffic. Well, those people are going to come in with a completely different level of beliefs and awareness and sophistication around your product or solution. For instance, leads that are coming from Meta, you might have to craft a long form video sales letter on your landing page that clearly explains why they should want this offer, create some urgency, some scarcity around your product or service, and sell them on why they should book a call with your team. Versus people that are coming from search, there's already existing demand. You're just capturing that demand. There doesn't need to be the same level of education, same level of video consumption. We really just need to give them a much more frictionless funnel that financially qualifies them and allows them to book in a much more seamless and easy way. So as you start to expand through different advertising channels, it's completely normal. The funnel is going to be modified differently for each traffic source. The sales process is going to be modified slightly for each traffic source, but hopefully you're slowly paying a bit of insurance every single day and trying to crack some of those other channels that might not be a perfect fit for your business, but can still be 20, 30, 40% of your overall revenue long term. Now, the second way to diversify your business would be through building a back end. You can only go so low in terms of your cost to acquire customers. It's very, very difficult to go from a $1,500 cost to acquire customer to a $1,000 cost to acquire customer. It's much, much easier to expand LTV than it is to reduce CAC, particularly if you're an experienced marketer, you're doing a halfway decent job at that skill set. There's going to be diminishing returns on every subsequent optimization that you make on the funnel. And it's sometimes much easier to focus on your model, focus on your back end, focus on your ascension path to make the customers worth more so that you can hopefully scale to the next level. As a general rule of thumb, if you have a 1 to 3x CAC to LTV ratio, meaning the customers are worth 3 times more to you lifetime than what you're paying to acquire them, you have what I call as a promotion. 3 to 1 is not going to be super profitable when you take in sales team commissions, fixed costs, and things like that. You're usually going to be left with about a 10 to 20% net margin. If you have a CAC to LTV ratio of 1 to 5, that's where I believe you have a true small business. You have some revenue retention, maybe 20 to 40% of your revenue is coming from existing customers as opposed to purely new customers, like in your first instance here. And you could probably survive and weather some major platform updates, but long term, if this channel ceased to stop working for 6 to 7, 8 months, your business would be underwater. And then if your business has a CAC to LTV ratio of 10 to 1, this is what I call a true enterprise. This is where your business can endure regardless of a major platform shift or rise in advertising costs. It's very unlikely that Meta is going to double your CPMs or triple your CPMs. Even if that were the case, your business would still remain healthy and stable in that instance. So ask yourself right now, are you between a 1 to 3x CAC to LTV? Are you a promotion? Are you a business? Or are you a true enterprise where your CAC to LTV is greater than 10 to 1. I actually don't think that I'm the utmost expert in crafting back-end offers. I've actually been a performance marketer for the last 10 years of my career, and I've really just focused on the initial transaction and didn't really think as much about the business model as a whole. But now as I've grown, I've become more sophisticated. Over time, we've evolved from just being an agency partner to being an offer owner ourselves. And I'm looking at the P&L differences of businesses that have this back-end built in versus businesses that don't. It's night and day differences in terms of their profitability. So while I don't claim to be an expert on the CSM process, the ascension process, I will share with you the process that we use to increase LTV by 30% with one of our existing clients. So with this particular client, we were given a $10,000 investment in January of 2025, and we scaled this offer up to about $194K in cash collected by the end of Q2, so just under 6 months. And that was net of our agency fee of about $15,000 per month for this particular instance. Now, in the beginning, that $0 to $200,000 per month mark, we didn't want to diversify and add other channels. We wanted to focus on Meta and Google, which was driving the bulk majority of the revenue for this particular account. 90% of the budget was being spent on Meta. And then we just targeted the people that were actively searching for our brand on Google to make sure that our competitors weren't stealing some of that traffic. Now, during the course of that first 6 months, our return on advertising spend was right around a 3.5x. And now, at the time that we're filming this in the month of December in 2025, we had over 2,000 high-ticket clients who are privy and interested in potentially buying something else from us, that enjoyed their product, enjoyed their purchase that they made with us, and were interested in buying something else. So we decided to create 4 quarterly live in-person events, which were strategically designed to ascend these people into a higher level of coaching, support, and community. You see, if you're watching this and you're a coach, consultant, a service provider, if you're selling information or consulting of any kind, the information that you originally provide to the client becomes worthless as they consume it. Somebody is not going to continue to pay for the same information over and over and over again. The things that they will continue to pay for are coaching, community, accountability, support, consumables. These are things that people will pay for long after the education, the information itself has become useless to them. I'm fortunate enough now at this point in my career to have an extensive network of some of the biggest coaches, consultants, and personal brands in the online education space. And the most common ascension path that we see from the front end purchase to how they're going to keep them paying for years and years on end is implementing some form of a live in-person event. And the reason for that is in 2025, as we enter the digital age, people are starving for connection. They're drowning in information. I've been a part of several masterminds where I continue to pay several $1,000s per month for years and years on end, simply because of the relationships and the bonds that I form at these quarterly live in-person events. If it was purely based on the information itself, I would have churned or stopped paying for that service probably within the first couple months. But instead, I've been there oftentimes for years and years on end because I look forward to actively all of these live in-person events. And I look forward to the friendships that I'm forming and the relationships that I'm forming at these events. So in terms of how we implemented our back-end ascension path, is we kept everything the same on the front end, the initial purchase. We still ran paid ads to a sales call where they spoke with our sales team and they purchased something that was between $3,000 and about $7,000 depending on the package price. The only difference being is that after they purchased, they were immediately sent to an onboarding call where they spoke with our customer success department and we asked them, which live event would you like to attend? We earmarked 4 dates on the calendar for that year and told them that they could reschedule up to 3 months in advance if something were to come up. We then told them that this first event would be free. We wanted to give them a small taste of what the community and what the environment would be like without giving them full access to the annual membership. And we asked them to place a small refundable deposit just to secure their seat. We received no pushback for that. That cost was a few $100s. It increased our average order value by 10 to 15% just doing that alone, by just adding a few $100 refundable deposit to secure their event ticket directly after their initial purchase. Then 2 to 3 months prior to that quarterly live in-person event, we started heavily emailing our list, reaching out to the existing customer base, and we filled a room full of 50 of our most motivated, engaged, and happy customers. We were able to convert 40% of the room on a $10,000 annual membership to have continued access to these live and in-person events. And what that did for us in the month of December is took our return on advertising spend from what was about a 3x to upwards about a 7 or 8x in the month of December. And we're going to continue to host these Ascension events once a quarter virtually, as well as once a quarter in person. And these are huge lump sum influxes of cash into the business that can weather whatever performance fluctuations occur with the call funnel that we're running on the front end that's a little bit more evergreen. And we also think that quarterly is kind of the perfect cadence and the perfect sweet spot in terms of frequency for this type of model. Because if you're doing them monthly, that becomes too operationally difficult. You're effectively shutting down your entire operation for 7 days of the month to run these events and fly out your team, and there's a tremendous opportunity cost in doing that. You want to have your sales team there typically in most instances. And if you do it semi-annually, oftentimes what happens, the sales teams have more resistance to closing the deal because there's less urgency. If there's an event date that is 12 weeks out at the most, that gives them something to look forward to and a reason to kind of pull the trigger and close a couple deals that are sitting right on the edge of the finish line. But if it's 6 to 9 months out, it doesn't have the same level of urgency as something that at the longest is going to happen in 12 weeks from now. And quarterly is very beneficial because oftentimes a lot of the members won't be able to make 1 or 2 of them, but if they can still receive 4 available time slots where it's happening no matter what, even if they can attend 2 to 3, they're still getting their money's worth and they're still getting the value that they paid for. And pro tip, if this is your first time doing this, we encourage you, don't charge for the free live in-person event. You want to do everything in your power to get the network effect started and make that event as free as possible for your qualified customers. But very important that it's only for your qualified customers. If you're selling any type of community coaching or support, the entire room and the entire experience gets ruined if there's no qualification filters placed on who can enter into that room. Sometimes just 2 to 5 people in there that are completely sold in, that are the wrong fit culturally, skill set wise, level wise, if they're sold into that, can ruin the experience for the other 40, 50 people there. And conversely, if there is somebody there who's overqualified, that'd be an exceptional fit that would make every single person super excited to want to be there, allow that person to come for free oftentimes. Do whatever you can in the beginning to get the network effect into gear. Don't force people to pay for that initial ticket sale that can slow that down in the beginning. People want to join communities that incredible people are already in. So there's a bit of this chicken or the egg thing that starts in the beginning. So we recommend start for your first Ascension event. Start it as a free ticket or a refundable deposit with the exception that you're doing qualification for your most qualified customers. For your subsequent and future events, you might have more demand, more interest. You're going to have content, hopefully, of the event, and people are going to see, hopefully, the recordings from the last in-person event that's going to help the salespeople and give them actually ammunition to maybe get a similar conversion rate than they would otherwise for a free ticket, but they can now still charge for it because there's more tangibility and they have a better understanding of what they would get at this live in-person event. But for that first in-person event, we recommend you do not charge, get people in the door, build a credible event, film a bunch of testimonies, get a bunch of content, and then your next promotion is going to be much, much easier. And the last thing that you can do to stabilize your business, de-risk your business, is to structure affiliate relationships with service providers that can sell to your existing customer base. And sometimes those affiliate relationships by themselves can become huge profit drivers for your overall business. If you're selling a biz op, if you're selling a way to your customer base on how to make more money, think about all the tools and softwares and things that would be required for them to be successful. You can partner with some of these software providers and give your clients access to their services at a deep discount. And you can sometimes earn 20, 30, 40% revenue in perpetuity in some instances, not all, depending on the size and the volume that you can provide to that business. For instance, we have a client right now that does multiple $1 million per month. They sell fitness coaching. When they partnered with the hormone replacement clinic, they were receiving about 20% of top line revenue in perpetuity on that affiliate relationship because of the volume that they were bringing to that business. And they got it to the point where 20 to 30% of their overall revenue was coming from this affiliate partnership where they did absolutely zero fulfillment, but it was incredibly profitable for them. And it's something that their customers would have been spending money on anyway. And now they're capturing some of that additional revenue. And if you're thinking about becoming more vertically integrated and owning potentially some of these affiliate relationships, it's probably better that you get product market fit with your customer base, make sure that they're purchasing and they're sending that with some of your affiliates first. And once you validated that you can repeatedly ascend your customers into some of these affiliate relationships, then it might make sense to bring that in-house and reinvest into owning that entire profit driver yourself so you can capture a little bit more gross profit for every individual unit that's sold. I've actually seen people take this to the extreme where their entire coaching business, consulting business is meant to break even. And then long-term, the thing that continues to pay their bills year after year after year is the SaaS and the affiliates and the partnerships that they build on the back end of that. And I think this is one of the most exciting models that exists in our industry because you're basically combining a business that allows you to make money very quickly but isn't super sustainably with a business that has a big barrier to entry that you couldn't otherwise access and compete in directly yourself, but has very, very strong revenue retention and has the ability to offset some of the volatility that might come from your coaching or consulting business. So think to yourself, what are the products and services that my customers are already buying? How can I feature them in my course or program and maybe have some of these service providers pitch their products or services inside of your course, your membership portal, and then provide them an affiliate link where they can choose to purchase that product at a discount. So as a final thought, what I want to leave you with is that typically growth is the thing that is going to get all the attention. That's the thing that sells, that provides the shock value, that's the thing that's getting all the clicks. And that's why business owners are biased to talk about their crazy, exorbitantly high top line revenue numbers towards their peak months of owning their business. But the thing that gave me a lot more peace, stability, and just overall long-term happiness was really thinking strategically about risk mitigation. I'm constantly thinking to myself, what are the other channels we're going to break off into? What are the other profit drivers? What are the other things that we can resell to the existing customer base so that if we have something crazy happen, for instance, like Andromeda in 2025, radically impacted the ad performance for a lot of our campaigns, you know that your business is going to be able to withstand that and survive and thrive regardless. Hopefully you start to think more about how do I not lose this instead of how do I make this bigger? How do I make this bigger faster? Because oftentimes what I've seen, the businesses that have scaled and grown the fastest is directly correlated to how fast they decay or how fast they lose everything that they built. So view some of these other channels as investments and think to yourself, what is the optimal amount of insurance that I am willing to pay in order to stabilize and de-risk my business long term? And you want to make sure that you're not overpaying, and you also want to make sure that you're not underpaying. And this is how you scale from 7 to 8 figures, leveraging paid advertising while simultaneously decreasing the risk of the overall business. Hopefully you found this video helpful. My name is Sam Sauter. We manage hundreds of thousands of dollars profitably every single month on paid advertising across all the major advertising channels. If you're interested in working with me, either in my done-for-you agency or working at my education company where you can work directly with myself and my team to either scale your marketing agency or scale your business through online advertising, click the link below. You'll be taken to a page where you can schedule a time to speak with one of my team members. Thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.